A sim racing handbrake is something I never really considered purchasing, mainly because I'm not into rally games and drifting has never really caught my attention either. But a few weeks ago, the guys over at 3D Rap, who produce all types of sim racing mods, reached out and offered to send me one. With nothing to lose, I accepted, and a few days later the Akina handbrake was set up and ready to go on my rig. Little did I know how much I was missing out. Today I'll be taking an in-depth look at it, telling y'all what I like, what I dislike, and giving y'all my final thoughts on the Akina handbrake by 3D Rap. Off the bat, the Akina handbrake comes shipped in this sophisticated looking foam packaging, which ensured everything arrived intact. The only reason I mention this is because I feel like shipping is such an underrated factor that many people forget to touch up on. Anyways, within it, everything is fairly straightforward. You receive a cool looking Akina branded wrench, which we'll see in action shortly. The handbrake's handle, which probably comes unattached from the base for packaging purposes, and of course the main part of the handbrake itself, which was a lot lighter than I was expecting. Now let's take a more in-depth look at everything. The handle itself is what you would imagine, although its red stitching is definitely a nice touch and just happens to match my setup's color scheme, so bonus points for that. Something I wasn't totally convinced on was the material used to wrap the handle itself. According to 3D Rap, the handle has an Alcantara-like feel, meaning it's not actually Alcantara, but it's supposed to mimic the feel of it. And while the handle feels totally fine, don't get me wrong, I would say it definitely feels more like a stiff foam rather than Alcantara. And I know this because I was comparing it directly with my Alcantara wrapped wheel, which was right next to it. Taking a look at the base of the handbrake, this is seriously impressive. Its body is mainly composed of satin steel with some 3D printed black components. Attaching the handle to it is as simple as can be. Simply remove the screws, attach the handle, and screw them back in with the included wrench. Whilst you are doing this, you can also mount the handle in a rally style mode, meaning it sticks straight up, or in the conventional handbrake mode. I've chosen to use it in the rally style because, well, I don't really know, because I think it looks cool, I guess. The thing that probably surprised me the most about the Akina handbrake was its wide range of adjustability, which I'll walk through right now. As I mentioned, you can use it as a rally style or conventional handbrake. Moreover, you can switch between linear and non-linear signal configurations. A linear signal is used for mimicking how a conventional real-life car's handbrake would react, whereas using the non-linear configuration will make it behave like a rally car. It also features what 3D Rap calls a dual mechanical feeling, meaning that you can completely change how the handbrake itself feels from two modes, one that feels linear and the other that feels hydraulic to pull. From my experience, it worked just fine. The tension can also be adjusted using this knob in the back. 3D Rap's website claims that the Akina handbrake comes with a quick guide manual, but for whatever reason mine didn't, which is fine. At the end of the day, everything is straightforward and available on their website, but I would have liked to have one nonetheless. Attaching the Akina handbrake onto my cockpit was probably harder than it should have been. Its default mounting brackets didn't align with my GT Trak cockpit, so I had to slightly jerry-rig it to make everything work. Moreover, it didn't come with any nuts and bolts to screw it into a cockpit, so I had to spend a few minutes looking for some that would work. Not a big deal, but it's these small attention to details that ultimately have a big impact on a customer's experience. I would have also loved to see it have some more mounting holes on the sides of the base to give it more mounting options. The Thrustmaster sequential shifter / handbrake I have does have these mounting holes, and it's made life very simple for me in the past. Also, I should mention that this Akina handbrake is mainly compatible for PC, but according to 3D Rap's website, you can purchase a separate adapter to make it work on a console. Anyways, for the part that matters, how did the Akina handbrake actually perform in game? I'm just not even gonna lie, this thing was so fun that I spent countless of hours drifting around and playing Dirt Rally 2 before even remembering I had to make this review. I never actually realized how substantial a handbrake was, not only for the immersion side of things, but for your performance in games such as these. Tight corners and hairpins seemingly became a breeze to overcome, and I no longer had to turn my wheel like 900 degrees and lose a ton of time in the process. The Akina handbrake remained sturdy, allowed me to configure everything to my needs, and it gave me a fantastic in-game experience from both a performance and immersion perspective. Moreover, its sleek design blended well with the rest of my rig, and even looked like a little brother next to the Thrustmaster sequential shifter, which I thought was hilarious. There are a few things I would change, however. The first is the color of the cable. While this red and black USB cable looks cool by itself, when trying to discreetly route it throughout my rig, it tended to stand out and be very noticeable, whereas an all black cable would simply blend in. Moreover, the USB cable for some reason comes out of the front of the handbrake rather than the rear, which is also an annoyance when managing cables. My biggest concern with this handbrake is its long-term durability. As I mentioned earlier, some of its components are 3D printed, and although they've been solid and have done the job well from the weeks I've had this handbrake for, I worry about how it's going to be holding up a year or even 6 months from now, especially under heavy use. Now, as for my final thoughts. At 180 euros, this handbrake is definitely not cheap, and due to its price, it's also not for everyone. I, for one, wouldn't be able to justify spending that much on a handbrake under my current situation. You know, because here in the United States, university textbooks alone cost around that much. But if you are financially able and willing to purchase this handbrake, it's a really neat piece of gear, which will not only look pretty damn nice on your rig, but will seriously take your drifting and rally experience to the next level. Anyways, if you want to know more about the 3D Rapakina handbrake, a link to their website can be found in the video description. And also consider subscribing while you're down there if you want.